Hello and welcome to Lorindalandia. Today I would like to talk about procrastination and how to overcome it. First, I think there is a lot of shame and guilt in procrastinating because I think we as a society put a lot of value of ourselves in being productive. We define our worth in productivity. So, first, we kind of need to demystify this concept that procrastination is laziness, which is not, and that there is something wrong or bad about not being productive. Procrastination, a lot of times, is a trauma response. It can be the freeze trauma response. Usually we have the fight, flight, or freeze, if I'm not mistaken. So when we are put in survival mode, we first go through these three trauma responses, and everyone has their favorite one. It can also be according to the circumstance. So you have the fights where you fight basically the people around you or the environment where you're having this trauma response from, or you have the flight where you escape and run away from the environment or people that you are having this trauma response from, or you freeze. That is basically you stand still, not only physically, but also mentally, right? So I think a lot of times procrastination is not about being lazy, it is a trauma response from living in survival mode. Not only is a trauma response, I think it's also very related with burnout. If you have been working without rest for a long period of time, is going to reach a point where you need to stop. This might be uncomfortable because we have this belief that our worthiness is related to external productivity. And that's another layer of procrastination, is that our worthiness, it's so tied to what we can produce that we feel unworthy as people when we don't produce. So procrastination has a lot of layers of unconscious processing here. There's a lot of trauma, a lot of feelings of unworthiness, and a lack of balance mentally and emotionally. The first thing you do when you are procrastinating is understanding that rest is necessary and productive. We might not feel like it because, again, we tie so much of our sense of worth in being productive that we don't understand that we are worthy as we are. We don't need to do anything to be worthy. We don't need to show the world that we are worthy. So, the first stage of overcoming procrastination is understanding that you are worthy as you are and learning how to rest. The biggest lesson that procrastination can give you is building a sense of worth within yourself and learning the balance of rest. Procrastination is a state that you are not taking action, but your mind is filled with future planning. You might be laying in bed and thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, I want to do this, and I want to do that. And your mind is running a mile and your body is inactive. You can also procrastinate by doing tasks that are not the main task that you want to do. For example, if you need to work on something, but your way of procrastination is to clean around the house, that is also a way of procrastination. So basically, procrastination is a sense that you are avoiding to do something, but that doesn't mean that you are resting because your mind is running a mile. Even if you are laying in bed, your mind is thinking about all the things that you need to do, or even if you use other tasks to escape that main task, you are still doing something. So you are not resting. For you to overcome this state of procrastination, first, we need to express what is happening in our minds because that's the root of it. The root of procrastination is a trauma response and feelings of unworthiness within you. So the first thing that you do is everything that you have in your mind, express it. Express it by saying out loud, express it for writing, use any form of self expression that is the most unique to you, the most enjoyable to you, because we all have different forms of expressing. Some people say it out loud, speak, communicate. Some people write, other people paint. Whatever it is, your form of expression, it can even be artistic, like playing instruments, painting, whatever is your enjoyable form of expression. Express everything that you have in your mind through a mediums of expression. So what you have in your mind, put it on the outside. And basically, when you do this, make the conscious effort to celebrate yourself, because deep down in the roots, procrastination is a sense of unworthiness within you. So this is about celebrating the smallest action. Everything that you do is going to be celebrated. So when you express yourself, when you express what you have in your mind, for example, you are laying in bed, but your mind is feel, I have to do this, I have to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Express it out. For example, write it down, like going to do this, going to do that, exactly as you have in your mind. And when you do it, take time to be proud of yourself. Take time to celebrate yourself. And this is very simple. You express it and you say to yourself, wow, I'm so proud of you that you took the time to expressing this. Thank you. I'm so incredibly proud. You are so admirable for expressing this. And why do we do this? This is to build our own sense of worthiness. Because again, it's our own sense of unworthiness that subconsciously, unconsciously is stopping us from taking action. So we need to start celebrating and be proud of ourselves through every little action that we take. And even being lying down in bed, ruminating your thoughts, be proud of yourself. Be proud of every little thing you do. So first you start by expressing what you have in your mind, writing, speaking, your form of self expression, the most enjoyable and natural to you. And when you do that, be so incredibly proud of yourself. Take time to say, hey, I'm proud of you. You are so admirable. You are so strong for taking this action. You are so strong for doing this. Wow. And that give yourself that celebration. The second lesson, very important, learning how to rest. Again, we might have difficulties with rest because we might not feel worthy as we are, and resting is basically not producing, and that can bring feelings of unworthiness. Nothing wrong with that, very normal. I think society is very built on production, capitalism at its core, right? Our sense of worthiness is very connected with our jobs, with the way that we make money, of how we contribute for society, right? So it's very normal to feel unworthy without producing. But procrastination is learning how to rest and to feel valuable within you without having to produce. It's learning to build your sense of value by just existing, because you are already worthy as you are. You don't need to produce anything to be worthy. You don't need to show the people anything to be worthy, because you were born worthy. Your worth is inherent. So what you do is you have a lot of thoughts in your mind, right? You have all this discourse of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, da, da, da. You express it. You celebrate yourself for expressing it. And then when your mind is more empty, you rest. Because resting is not just laying in bed. resting is slowing down your mind, is slowing down your thought processes. And resting is not just about resting the body, it's more about resting the mind. And there are many different ways of resting. For example, you can rest, of course, by laying down in bed and not doing anything if this allows you to slow down your mind. For example, for me resting is not laying down in bed because my mind is running a mile. For me, resting is a walk in nature. For me, resting is painting something. For me, resting is more of an action oriented attitudes, just because it slows down my mind. Resting is slowing down your thought processes. So there is a lot of creative methods that you can use here. Again, if painting slows down your mind, that's your form of resting. Dancing can also slow down your mind. That is a form of resting. Physical activity, if it slows down your mind, it is resting. Resting in this mental state, in this fear of procrastination, is about slowing down your mind. It's not about how much you do physically, it's about slowing down the thought processes of your mind. So it's about finding out what slows down your mind. It can be even laying in bed. For me it's not, but it can be meditation. For me, meditation really helps me. Walks in nature, doing something that I can immerse myself in. For example, painting. I'm not good at painting, I never will be good at painting, but it's good for my mental health. So when I paint, my thought processes slow down. So that's my form of resting. So it's about you figuring out what is your unique form of resting, because we are all unique, we are all different. It's about you asking yourself, what is an activity that slows down my mind? What is an activity that I can immerse myself in? This can also be playing games, whatever slows down your mind. So you ask yourself, what slows down my mind? What is an activity that I'm fully in and I can immerse myself in it? And this stops my thoughts from being in the past or in the future, and I am in the now. Resting is finding the activities that allow you to be in the now. And for the first stage of overcoming procrastination is about expressing what you have in your mind, celebrating yourself, being proud of yourself for doing that, and knowing how to rest. When you find that activity that slows down your mind, again, be super proud of yourself. Celebrate yourself. When you can rest, you don't need to rest a long time. You can start by 5 minutes. You do, for example, a 5 minute meditation. At the end of that meditation, be so proud of yourself. Take time to say to yourself, I'm so proud of you. I know this was hard for you to do, and I'm so proud that you took the time to rest. Give yourself that sense of worth. Celebrate yourself. The first stage of procrastination is learning how to express your mind and to rest, because this also is a technique of healing, so you can gain more safety and live this survival state. Because again, procrastination has a lot to do with trauma, and it has a lot to do with being in survival mode. So when you can do activities as processing your emotions, that is expressing what you have in your mind, and giving yourself the time to rest, you basically enter a safety zone where you are less likely to have that many thoughts in your mind that impede you to take action. And it's also about giving yourself the worth, so you feel worthy within you, and your worth is not dependent on the action that you're going to take. So, okay, you learn how to express yourself, you learn how to rest. This takes time. You don't need to rush the process. This has no timeline, no deadline. You take as much time as you need. Again, you don't need to be productive. Your worth is not dependent on being productive. First, we need to build our own sense of worth independent from the outside. So this is a process that takes time, and you take as much time as you need. Again, there is no pressure, and you are already doing such a great job by expressing what you have in your mind, by learning how to rest. And these are invaluable lessons that will actually help you long term in your productive state. So, okay, we learn how to express, learn how to rest, we have those two. When you learn how to do that without guilt and shame, that's when you can start taking action towards that thing that you wanted to do, towards that main goal that you are procrastinating about. And this is about small increased action. Okay, so basically you had this goal that you've been procrastinating about. That's totally fine. You express it, you learn how to rest, and your body reaches a point that you have no shame in expressing, no shame or guilt in resting. I mean, there is always a certain shame of guilt, but just shame and guilt doesn't impede your rest. You can still rest even though they bring some sort of shame or guilt. It's fine to feel those emotions, and probably you'll forever feel them. The only thing is that they don't impede you taking the time to rest. If you reach the point, when you reach the point that you can rest, even though you might feel guilty or shame and all of those emotions, but if you reach the point that you can rest, that's when you are ready to take action. Okay, so you have the main goal that you're procrastinating about, right? What you do is you start very small. For example, you start by 5 minutes. You spend 5 minutes in doing that goal, in working towards that goal. And after those 5 minutes, what do you do? You celebrate yourself. You take time to celebrate that action. You say to yourself, I'm so proud of yourself. I know this was very hard. I'm so proud that you took it and did it either way. You are so strong. You are so admirable. You give yourself that sense of worth, that validation, and that celebration. The next day, you start with 6 minutes and you do again the giving yourself a sense of worth. You give yourself a celebration. You are proud of yourself. The next day, 7 minutes. And it starts with very small action that is celebrated and you slowly increase it. But again, in the long term, the big lesson here is knowing how to rest. There should always be allocated time for rest. This is not about working 24/7. This is not about like reaching a point that you work every day, all hours of the day, and you do as much as you can. No, this is about learning balance because it's only with balance that you'll be able to achieve success. Success is basically compounding. It's small actions every day that in the long term create big change. Success is not overnight, so success takes years. And for you to be able to work towards something with small actions, you need to rest. This big lesson of procrastination is knowing how to rest. So, rest should always be an allocated time that should not be compromised. It should be a balance of being productive and resting because this is the only way that you'll be able to be sustainable in your productivity. If you reach a point of your productivity that you are doing 24/7 everything, you're going to reach a point of burnout and you're going to reach again. You go back to the beginning. You go back to that procrastination. You go back to being exhausted. Even if you're not doing anything in your mind, you are exhausted because there is a lot of running in your mind. There is a lot of burnout and a lot of exhaustion. We should never achieve for us to be workhorses. We should never achieve for us to be like super productive, everything. No, it's about finding a balance, because that's the only way where you'll be able to achieve the success that you want, because that's the only way you are sustainable in it. If you're not sustainable in it, yes, some months you're going to work a lot, but then the next month you're not going to do nothing. And there is nothing wrong with that, because again, you are worthy as you are. You don't need to prove anything to others. You don't need to put your worth in external validation and in productivity. But of course, if you want to achieve something for yourself, very important. If you want to achieve a goal for yourself, you need to know to be sustainable in it. So this means prioritizing rest, and rest should not be compromised. Having strong boundaries in rest and not compromising that rest. For example, for me, in my case, I work, I basically am productive from Monday to Friday. And again, I'm not balanced. I'm not a good example because I'm not balanced in my rest. I work a little bit too hard and too much. And I know that because, again, I also have issues with resting. And for me, the weekends, I kind of force myself to rest, even though that I do a little bit. I kind of force myself to rest. I am a person that likes to take action. I like to always go, go, go. So for me, it is difficult to rest, but I still do it. I force myself to be like, no, you're going to walk in nature, like you're going to be in the forest because that's what you need to do, and that's what you will do. And this is something that I forced myself into. Again, it's not very comfortable for me to rest. It's a bit uncomfortable, to be quite honest. I get anxious. I'm like, "Ay, but I want to do." It is hard for me to rest, but I force myself to do it. Because for me, I like to take action, but I also reach the point of burnout. I also reach this trauma freeze response. So I understand for that lesson, the rest needs to be prioritized. If I want to achieve what I want to achieve, I need to prioritize my rest. Does it make me uncomfortable? Absolutely. Do I like it? No. My comfortability is in do, 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 go, go, go. But I prioritize it either way. In conclusion, procrastination is teaching us a lesson that we are worthy as we are. We don't need to show anything or prove anything to anyone to be worthy. And is also teaching us the importance of rest. When you learn those two lessons, that you are worthy as you are and rest should be prioritized, that's when you overcome procrastination, because you always have those tendencies. You have always the tendencies to work a lot and reach a point of burnout. And for example, if your trauma response is freeze, you're always going to have that trauma response. It is normal, but this is about having boundaries within yourself so you can mediate your triggers, so you can manage your triggers, so your triggers don't take that much influence in your action. He always does. We always are gonna have our trauma. We always gonna have our triggers. We're gonna have always our insecurities. That's normal. But this is about learning how to manage it so they don't take that much power into your action. So they don't influence that much your life. You always feel probably guilty and shameful when resting. I still do, and probably will always feel guilty and shameful when resting. However, I still force myself to do it. Procrastination is teaching us sustainability. It is teaching us balance. And is also teaching us that we are worthy as we are. And is kind of defying our perspectives that we have on worth is kind of defying this concept that you are worthy according to your role in society. Like if you produce a lot, if you have power in society, because that's like a wounded belief right there that our worth is connected to what we can do for others, to the role that we play for society. That's a very father masculine wound. But again, just because it's father, just because it's masculine, is independent from gender. We all have it, those archetypes within us. But is defying that sense that our worth is dependent on the external and is almost forcing us to build worth inside of ourselves. Being worthy inside of yourself is about celebrating every small action, everything that you do, and even the things that you don't do. Celebrating when you rest, celebrating when you take action, but also celebrating when you rest. Learning to give yourself that validation will allow you to manage your tendencies to procrastinate, will allow you to manage your trauma response, because again, procrastination most likely is a trauma response, and it has to do probably with our sense of worthiness. So when we give ourselves that worth, and when we have a balance between being productive and resting, those tendencies, those triggers will not have that much power within us. Let me know down in the comments if you resonated with this message. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you like this content, subscribe. Bye.